yet.
Fresh.
Oh, I'm so excited. Okay, we're at the Pixelated Galaxy.
Yeah, we're starting with Civ 1. This is the 25th anniversary of Civilization. So we
anniversary,
yeah, isn't
guys?
that it's just been around so long. And so the montage here at the beginning is sort of a retrospective of all the different Civilization games, snippets from gameplay from different games, leader scenes from different games. And there's a Brave New World scene there with the Soviets on the Kremlin wall. And it's just a way to kind of acknowledge that, hey, it's our 25th anniversary. This is a great time to be talking about Civilization.
Oh, this is a great anniversary to celebrate. So many anniversaries this year. Twitch turning 5 years old, so you guys could be our dads. But Civilization, a well-beloved game franchise, and part of it is because every generation is sort of like so many new ideas, so many new thoughts. So I'm very familiar with Civilization 5 and a lot of the other iterations of the game. What have you changed? What have you brought us new to Civilization 6?
Number one thing is your cities are not going to feel anything like they were before. So all the other Civilization games, you had so much packed in that one little spot where your city was. Every building you built was just like right stacked on top of each other. And even if you had like 8 or 10 wonders of the world all built in that city, they were just still represented just by that one spot on the map. And we're like, we have so much more going on the map. The map is sort of your star of your Civilization game anyways, because it's different every time you play and exploring it's so much fun. That we're like, let's use the map every single way we can. And so we just kind of blew apart the cities. They're not in one tile anymore. They're spread out across the map. It allows us to specialize cities. You can see right here, here's a brand new city. We've built a couple farms. We could talk about the way workers work. They're actually not even called workers right now.
What are they called now?
They're called builders because they have charges and they just instantly build the improvements. And the reason for that is because the whole game around how you set up your city is like an intricate little puzzle right now, and you want to be able to plan that out. And if it takes 8 or 10 turns for somebody to finish something, it was just like too hard to get that planning right. So now that happens instantly. We've pulled the wonders out. Wonders are on a tile by themselves. And what you're going to see soon is this is taking a settler from one city down to another.
God, that's beautiful. I love that
it's
green.
What's really interesting about this is the fogged areas where you've explored them, but you can't see them right now, have this sort of hand-drawn stencil map look. We kind of are going with this mapping theme, like the Age of Exploration, that kind of thing, with like antique maps. And so like when you haven't even explored something, I don't think that shows in the video, you have like actual pictures of dragons and sea monsters and things like that on the sides of the map, so it's just a lot of fun. And so here we're setting up 2 cities. We're setting up a trade route between them. We've simplified the way roads work. In the ancient world, roads were all set up by traders. That's sort of naturally how pathways between cities were set up. So you just
So I don't have to just send them to build anymore.
Right,
Get them
right.
interrupted.
The traders
find
do
them in the
that for
middle
you
of the woods.
automatically. If you want to micromanage that, we give you ways to do that later. But and so now you can see what we're about to do in this city is we're going to go ahead and choose to build a holy site district. This is the first district we build, and this is where we pull those buildings out of the city. So your shrines and your temples aren't going to be in the city anymore. We've chosen a spot for it that's sort of scenic next to those trees, so the people are going to like, doing worship-like stuff out there. If you can actually find like a natural wonder in the game, like the Great Barrier Reef or something like that, and you can set up a holy site in front of that, your people will just go nuts. They're like, this is like the most awesome place.
Happy.
So every city sort of gets customized in its own way. Here's building a wonder of the world. Civ 4 had these wonder movies where they showed animations, but they're all pre-canned, pre-rendered scenes. Now we do it in engine, right out there on the map. So this is, the exact spot you chose next to your city is where the Wonder movie plays out.
Now, I am getting a little nervous here because I play with Raging Barbarians, or in Civilization 5, Raging Barbarian, and I'm a bit of a warmonger, so I get attacked a lot. This is making me nervous here because the one thing I did like about my city was everything that I held dear to me could be protected by, like, one bowman.
Okay, so they just built an encampment district. That's the first step to protecting yourself.
All right,
the barracks are going online, so we have some well-trained troops here now that we have a barracks. But again, it's outside the city. It looks real cool. Here come the barbarians. The barbarians are tougher in Civ 6. They actually have like plans for how to attack you now.
Oh no.
Yeah, so there's like a whole new level that you're gonna have to deal with the barbarians, which is fun. In this case, in the video, they show sort of some well-trained troops giving the barbarians a hard time, but it doesn't always go that way. When you play a Civ 6 game, the barbarians can give you. Here are barbarian horse archers. That's a new thing that you haven't seen before.
Wow.
So we're going to keep progressing here and take out the barbarian encampment.
So I have a couple questions about when this game comes out in the fall. How many civilizations are we going to have available to us?
There'll be 18.
18.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's the same that Civ 5 had when it launched. There are 4 that we've announced so far. So America. We'll see the leader for America shortly. Egypt, we'll see the leader for that in the video as well. And then also China and Japan have been announced.
Oh, wow.
But in those 18, we'll have some that are brand new to the series, have never been in there before, so that's super fun for us to figure out which ones the fans really want to have.
I'm just telling you now, give me some lady leaders because they kick so much ass.
Yes, and all of us like a good mix.
Oh yeah, Catherine, Dido, those are my girls, my queens.
So here's our American leader. We got Mr. Teddy Roosevelt, the Rough Rider himself. He is sort of the badass, U.S. leader. Not the number of stories that we have about Teddy Roosevelt is, he was given a speech and was shot in the middle of the speech, and just kept going.
Keep going.
Just because he wasn't going to let anyone phase him.
Wow.
He moved into the White House, and since he was just used to being out in the American West and stuff, he'd just take his horse out and ride up and down Rock Creek Park, and if he saw squirrels and stuff, he'd be shooting at them, and he's just like the most, the whole most interesting man in the world. He's the most interesting man in the world, 1902 version.
So you've looked at the cultures, you want to get involved, and you're sort of pulling different leaders now?
We want to get big personalities for their leaders. There's a whole new way that the AI works, and that each leader gets a historical agenda, something they really cared about in history. Teddy Roosevelt, he's like, his historical thing was he had the big stick policy, which was his foreign policy, his diplomacy is going to be dictated by America having a really strong military and making sure you stayed out of anything nearby. So Cuba, Philippines, some of those other things. He was. Let me not interrupt. This is another wonder going. This is the Great Library. But so anyway, Teddy Roosevelt was all about making sure that no one else messed with any of the countries nearby him. And so that's the way he plays the game. If there's like a city-state near him and you start trying to pick on it and maybe take it over, he's going to be like, hands off.
How does that process go from identifying a cool personality from history, researching extensively what their personality would be like, and then implementing that into a game form?
Well, it's tricky because, we got 18 civilizations. We got to do this for 18 leaders. It gets really interesting with the diplomacy in the games with you don't know which ones you're going to have in your game, and so they interact in really, really interesting ways. But we have entirely rewritten all of our game core library for this because we wanted it to be flexible enough to handle situations like this. And so, like when this gets out into the mod community and they can start creating their own content, they're going to go bananas. So we're about to meet another leader, and you guys were looking for a female leader.
I'm excited.
Yes, yes. Oh, she looks furious.
She's a fiery personality. And so Cleopatra, leader of the Egyptians. And
perfect.
The really cool thing about her is in history she was famous for taking those big leaders of the Roman Empire who were really powerful and just totally bringing them under her sway. And like all of a sudden Julius Caesar and Mark Antony were doing whatever she wanted them to. So that's what her agenda is she actually protects Egypt by finding big, powerful military civilizations and befriending them and saying, you're who I'm all about, we're going to get along well, and that gives her a ton of protection because if she's got those guys as her allies. So it's kind of weird if you play the game and you're like, I don't need to build a military. I can get away with it with only a couple spearmen. I'll be fine. And then Cleopatra meets you. She's like, you have nothing. I'm going to
You're dead to
totally,
me.
yes, exactly.
So you mentioned,
So you have
you
to
know,
try to build your military to impress Cleopatra, and then all of a sudden she turns around.
but
So-
by that token, as Cleopatra, you don't need a military. So I'm wondering, what are the victory conditions? What are the different victories we can achieve here?
We have 4 different kinds of victories, just like in Civ 5. One of the ones from Civ 5 has been taken out, and we added a new one. We're not talking about that yet,
Okay.
but that's exciting.
I'm guessing. I'm keeping it up here.
Yeah,
I'll
exactly.
check back later.
Yeah, we definitely will have full information on that coming out reasonably soon. So, but you know, there's still the same kind of thing. You can dominate the world, knock everyone out. That's still fine. In this particular video, we're going to go all the way through to the space race. And so we'll show you that can happen. Now, I love these
Wow.
pictures where you have this time of day and you can see the cities at night. That's not a normal way you play the game, just because it gets a little confusing to identify what everything is. But that's under your control. If you want to turn on cycling through a day-night cycle as you play the game, you can do that.
cool.
So you got these lit
Wow,
up
that's
cities.
incredible.
Here we're building the Eiffel Tower. And just to give the idea of the time lapse that it takes to build one of these wonders of the world, we cycled through the day-night cycle a bunch of times. And the city's lit back up now. And boom, it's lit up, it's done. So-
Wow.
and this is what a modern city looks like. You can see all those different districts that we've added to it. There's just a lot going on. We've had to kind of pick a different art style that's a little bit cleaner and more stylized, so because there is so much going on outside your city. Here's our rocket being
Wow.
put into our spaceport.
So is this a potential victory screen right here, or are we just?
I'm,
You know what?
exactly
You know, that's
how
how I'm going to imagine it. You don't have to answer that
Yeah.
question. Oh my gosh, this is such an exciting game. I mean, what was crazy too is when, you know, a lot of times I play Civilization, I would say 1 in every 10 games that I start, I get all the way to the victory point, because there's so much fun just looking at that map, you know, picking your initial spot, making so many decisions early on. Do you feel like this game feels kind of the same weight at the beginning of the game as it does at the